Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Ryan from Monster FX.
We're here to talk about He-Man and other 5.5 scale barbarian figures.
Squat muscular figures that defined a lot of our childhoods to an extent, yeah.
And are very in vogue now with collector toys.
Yeah.
That's like half of the Target toy aisle.
And it's been that way for a while now, too. Like, different lines have cropped up. Super 7 did
totally,
some.
it was going to be a phase or something, and I can't believe the longevity it has. And, like, you see King Randor or whoever, I'm like, really? We're going all the way. We're going all the way in.
All the way
okay. In. All right.
Yeah. The fact that you can still find these everywhere today is, it's not a passing fad. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's still probably mostly aimed toward us, but it's popular with a lot of other age groups now.
At one point in time, there was a lawsuit with Mattel and somebody else over this form factor, and basically the result was you can't copyright the human body. So even though they went with, but it's got the wide stance and the squatty legs, they're like, it's still the human body. And so Mattel lost, trying to defend off all of the copycat toys.
Yep.
But He-Man was pretty unique in its size and shape.
He's, when I look at him even now, like nothing personifies my childhood like this. Yeah, and actually I was just, I believe that lawsuit specifically was, it might have been between Remco and Mattel.
It might be. I forget who the other party was.
Which again, like we have a couple of them here, but that sort of squat muscular build is what everyone was trying to get, they're trying to make some of those Motu dollars from.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you can't, what'd you say? You can't copyright the human body, even when it's as perfect as this. But yeah, I have loved this style of figure since I was 5-6 years old. I mean, let's face it, like when you're an 8 or 9 year old kid back in the 80s, a guy that looks like this is everything that you aspire to be.
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah. The muscles, the superhuman strength. So I have as much of an affinity for like some of the knockoff stuff that we were inundated with back then as I do He-Man, because they were everywhere and we had choices.
Yeah.
I remember my grandparents and my great aunt and everybody not knowing, they didn't care. Like, this is Masters of the Universe, this is this. No, there's just a big muscular guy on a card back. Alex is going to like that.
I think it added a lot of confusion to that Masters of the Universe was more commonly referred to as He-Man because the cartoon was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Yeah. So when your grandparents went to look for He-Man, none of the packages actually said He-Man.
I don't see He-Man.
Yeah, it says Masters of the Universe. Is that the right one? Or is this Galactic Warrior? Which one am I supposed to get?
Yeah.
Don't look like He-Man to me.
Yeah, no, I get it. This guy that I just picked up, who's Hercules,
right?
Who actually said Hercules on the box, on the card back, even though he's like a figure from, I believe it's either like Lord of... or the Lost World of Warlord, or something like that. But on the box, on those packaging, they actually said the name of the actual
real
figure.
Big, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the header card. Whereas He-Man, it said Masters of the Universe, and then in small, it was like Buzz Off, Fly in the Sky, or whatever. But that line, the character's name was bigger often than the brand.
Yeah, and I don't ever recall being super like disappointed or bummed that I was getting something that wasn't like the actual the real deal. I loved all of these guys. I got as much play value out of these as I did He-Man and Skeletor and whomever else.
I was pretty brand loyal as a kid, and now I never got in a situation where someone gave me a knockoff, and then I was like, well, what do I do with this? But in the store, like, I would see a guy, it's a Triceratops guy or whatever, and be like, well, that's neat. But it's not Beastman. It's not Skeletor. I'm going to get, like, for some reason, was just brand loyal as a kid in all toy lines. The knockoff stuff just didn't do it for me. But now as an adult, when I can look back at it and go, why was I not into this stuff? This stuff is great.
I think the same thing, because I always see the knockoffs, and I'm like, It looks wimpy. His hips look funny. Like, I would just... The paint is awful. And now I look, I'm like, these designs are, like, incredibly interesting all on their own.
Yeah.
Like, they might be a ripoff, but just the design, the paint, the quality isn't great, but they're very unique. They look so different from, like, every other toy line before them or after.
Yeah. Yeah, and derivative, but they are definitely distinct. And it's funny that you say that because, like, I also remember getting something like this and going, this is not He-Man. This is a step below He-Man, but still being happy with it.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's just, like, the sculpting being not quite as, like, sharp, the construction felt a little cheaper. Obviously, this Triceratops head doesn't have anything to do... Like, it's so disjointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I made the most of it. I mean, obviously, we get older, we become sort of, like, cynical adults, and things can sort of, like, sour our mood toward things like this. But as a kid, this was awesome. I loved this. Guana? I think this guy's name was Guana.
Guana? Okay.
Yeah.
I would see all the time. I was digging through toys the other day. I found, like, I would see all those wrestling figures. It was wrestlers. They changed the head. Oh, now it has a dinosaur head, or whatever. And then I found one the other day that I had wrestlers, and then I got this one. And I was like, well, this isn't a Power Ranger. It was painted red. It was the same wrestling body as, like, some of the wrestling figures somebody gave me, but it had a cheap Power Ranger, like, imitation head.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like exact same body, no retooling. It was just painted red with, like, some little white triangles and a new head.
Small, and that's it.
This is so cheap.
That's what those lines were.
Totally new person. Yeah.
I hate it. The only reason it's not broken it was in the bottom of a bin of toys that I never touched. I'm like, this is my junk.
And in their defense, really, even though Masters of the Universe felt like better quality because of the plastic and the paint or whatever.
Yeah.
How many of those guys were all the same molds for the first couple years? You know?
Yeah. They had 3 body types that they just keep recycling. There was, like, the human, there was the reptile, and, like, a beast.
Yep, the furry body, the male body, and the reptile body.
And just recycle. And I get it from a business standpoint, just swap out a few things, new accessories.
You end up with the most bizarre stuff. Like Zodak is the furry chest, the reptile legs. I guess he's got the furry arms, or maybe the male arms. Does he have the reptile arms with the spikes?
He's got, like, a spike.
Just such a strange mix. Such a strange mix on that one.
Mix and match. It's like playing with Legos. Yeah. You could make your own figure, and I would love to have worked there and be like, oh, if we take this and that, what does his head look like? And maybe it'll be blue instead of orange. Oh, that's great.
What if we flock Beastman and make him green?
Man, we'll call him Mossman. Mossman, that's a great choice.
I adored Mossman.
Oh.
Even when he was older and, like, it was fraying and sticky.
He's in my top 3 favorite support characters.
Is he?
I love Fisto, Mossman, and Buzz-Off. They were 3 of my favorite figures as a kid. Yeah. I loved them.
But they're ones like, because there is something interesting about the flocking or whatever, they added something extra weird that you're like, okay, this is actually kind of interesting.
I didn't even realize he was a repaint as a kid for a while, and then one day I just happened to have him fight Beastman. I was like, oh my gosh, they're the same guy.
Yeah.
We finally had the heads next to each other. I'm like, oh.
Buzz-Off, so actually, now that you just mentioned Buzz-Off, this is something that always doesn't bother me, I was just curious. He's got his big bug eyes, but then he comes with, like, an additional
helmet. Yeah. Bug-eyed helmet.
With bug eyes. So the original
4D vision, baby.
The original version of the character had a He-Man style head with the bug helmet.
Okay.
And then I think someone in design was like, no, we should make him a Bugman. But they never dropped the accessory of the bug helmet. And so just through iterations. But it is very odd that he has a bug head with a bug helmet on it.
The patchy work and the corners cut and the shoddy things they did back then, it just, like, enriches the line now when you look back.
It's amazing that it's so cohesive. Like, even just looking at He-Man, like Panther or whatever, and Battle Cat.
Yeah.
Was it Big Jim?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, to take something that is previously done, you just, like, let's put a saddle on him, put a helmet on him, and then he fits perfectly with this whole line. It's wild, and it gives it this really nice artistic, like, style. Everything's very unique, but very similar.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I mean, unless you happened to be just the right age to bridge both of those lines. You had no idea. No idea. I mean, and then they recycled the birds, and they originally had plans to recycle the Big Jim gorilla, but that never made it out. But like, it's such a neat idea of like, we're gonna make this toy line, but all like the extra accessory things are gonna be from Big Jim.
Yeah, borrowed from anywhere else where we have the licenses. Was anybody bothered by the fact that Panther and Battle Cat's legs didn't move? Just curious.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It always drove me. I played with my cousins because I wasn't cool enough to have one, but it always drove me crazy because I'm like, every other figure moves.
It bugged me more though that the two robot horses who have what look like articulated legs don't move.
They should just a slot to make a move a little bit.
Because I could do this with Battle Cat and just pretend he's running. It also bugged me a little bit when you took all this off that it didn't really look anything like Cringer. Like you couldn't make it friendly.
That's true. Yeah.
And they didn't care when they made the toy because Cringer didn't exist.
Yeah. Right.
But growing up watching the cartoon, I was always like, I really wish I could do the full. I have Adam, and I can take the armor off of him, but it just doesn't quite give me what I'm looking for there.
No, you're right. I'm a little ashamed to say it didn't bother me. And now, as an adult looking back, like if I could speak to a younger version of me and be like, "Why didn't you have a problem with that?" but Stridor and
Night Stalker,
that did bother me. This is a statue.
They look articulated though.
Yeah, they look that's so what good, and at least he looks really cool. Like Battle Cat
very
looks
dynamic.
amazing. And the thing I always liked, I'm like, he can't move, but I would slide him across the floor, and he slides. He would balance out like beautifully.
Yeah, he didn't topple.
Yeah, he didn't topple over. I'm like, this is amazing. He could attack people from right here.
That's one of the things that I love the most about this line, or any of these lines, is that. So, when I was a kid, one of the most important things to me was the durability of my toys. Which is, it's weird that I thought about that back then, but it bothered me. Like G1 Transformers never looked and felt like something I could really play with. Like something was going to chip or snap or crack. These guys are, and I know people have a problem with like, the rubber tubing, rotting and things like that.
But that's 40 years later. Never broke it.
Yeah. These guys got thrown up against walls, down hills, this and that.
The rubber head is perfect.
Like, yeah. And the fact that they are like squat and it looks like all the muscles are tense, they still look like, even though they're static, it still looks like they're dynamically, they can fight. Like they're in the midst of an action.
They're ready for battle.
Yeah, they're primed and ready for a fight, and I loved that.
Did it bug anybody that almost all of them have an open hand that can hold accessories?
Yes.
That drove me insane.
Yeah, that was a problem.
That only like one guy actually at one point got, I think Fisto has a accessory holding hand on the arm that's usually open, and I popped one off, an extra one, and put it on my He-Man, so He-Man could have the axe and the sword at the same time.
Awesome, man. You adapted things.
When I play with it, it's just all you can do is slap people,
because they made it for the shield.
It's perfect for the shield.
Yeah,
like. But Skeletor, what'd the five fingers say to the face? What?
And
slap! That's all.
And as adult collectors, one of the biggest problems with that now I've noticed is that a lot of the figures that you buy on eBay, if you don't look closely enough, that open hand was just like such a tempting thing to be chewed on by a dog or a kid or a cat. I bought literally 2 or 3 He-Men, that when they got to my front door and I opened them up, I had totally missed
totally disregarded.
They were missing 2 fingers on that hand every time.
Yeah, when because I have a little guy now, so when I had He-Man, I had a He-Man, perfect condition except for one arm was chewed. The hand was chewed off, like his whole. It looked like he was holding a hand grenade. It was so messed up. I'm like, what kid was like just
gnawing away?
Yeah, like a little animal. It was wild, but I had to like go find another figure that was pretty good condition, but not great condition, so I didn't feel bad ripping his arm off and replacing
and pop it back on.
Yeah, but yeah, it was hard trying to find ones that weren't missing a middle finger or whatever.
Yeah, a complete hand on one of these vintage figures is a find, a rare find. Is it true? Like, obviously, I collect the Origin stuff too, and I have mixed emotions as to why I collect these, but Mattel is marketing them as if you're supposed to pop pieces off and then interchange them, right?
Yes, they built that in as a feature. You can change the accessories around. Yeah.
Okay. The first time I heard that, I was like, they're just
hoping you break it.
Or it's just like, they're covering for the fact that the tolerances on the joints suck.
Yeah. No, they did it that way. So with Motu Classics, the Total Collector line, they did purposely have like the changeable heads. And so this was another way to like, if we don't want to engineer actual action features into most of them, a few of the deluxe ones, it gives us a little bit of variety. Plus, it allowed them to easily make like their wrestlers of the universe figures, right? Because any part can go on any figure, and kids like that. I mean, there's a whole Ninja Turtles line currently out like that. So I think it was like, we're gonna make these so adults love them, but we're gonna do this modular thing so kids like them because kids. It's been a trend for a long time, and it's what turned G.I. Joe into everyone has a rocket launcher or sound effect pack. Was it has to do something besides be a toy?
Yeah,
right.
Like that's the philosophy that happened in the 90s at some point. Was like, what else does it do?
It
can't just be a car. It can't just be a guy. It has to do something else. So I think that's kind of their like, hey, kids love it when you can change everything around.
Kids need options.
Almost every toy I bought in the 90s was like, do I like the character? What does it do? Yes. What does it have?
That's what they went to.
Oh, it has a mask that comes off and a weapon. Oh, you got me sold. It's got a backpack. Oh my! And it squirts. That's amazing.
Well, look at the Toy Biz X-Men line. They all had a feature, right? And that was huge. And Power Rangers, had those auto flipping heads. And stuff. Like that was a turning point. Like just like all the He-Man guys all had an action feature. Most of them was just that power punch.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal in the time. And then it seemed like they got away from the action features. But like Ghostbusters did Fright Feature, and that did what And so anyway, they got to this conclusion that they all have to do something, and so we still
or like the Water World. Oh, it has a little tiny like the Ghostbuster has a ghost.
Little packing guy.
Water World has to have a tiny mutant that goes with it.
I was always a fan of the basic figures because I always felt like a gimmick was something I was definitely going to break. Something was going to go haywire and something was going to snap off and rattle around the figure forever. A lot of my figures that I kept as an adult, I have lost all the accessories, and it doesn't bother me. I'm not a completionist as a collector, but just from like the perspective of like a kid wanting to play with things, it was really just like warrior versus warrior. Like it was always hand-to-hand combat kind of things. But I get that toys have to provide a kid with so many different options and possibilities these days.
I often like it better when it's like an add-on thing. So like a G.I. Joe missile launcher that you can set aside. Then when it's like push the button and the guy kicks. Because it usually limits articulation or some other feature or it's hard to stand it. And so my buddy and I used to call it forced play. I was like, well, this guy kicks. So every time we play with him, he has to kick, right? Like, we were talking about this actually back when episode 3 came out. And, I just want a good Anakin. No, you have to get the one where he goes like this. You push the button, he slashes his own head off. Or Anakin or Obi-Wan can kick. And it's like, I just want one that can stand and pose with his lightsaber because
it looks good.
Because I'm in college and I just want them to stand there. Yeah. But they all have a gimmick, and it's like, so that's what this toy does every time. Every time a kid looks at it, that's all it can do. Like the Fright Features guys, you would create a scenario so they could scream instead of create a scenario so they could drive the car and catch the ghost and do all these other things. It's just about them being scared because that's what it does.
Right.
Just limit everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird though, but it's like the kids want that, but then also I would notice it after a while. Like, oh yeah, I don't do much with this toy. He just does the same thing every time I play.
I was always a super stickler for. Like, if it was like, oh, it's Spider-Man, but he's got a torn costume. I'm like, okay, cool. And it's like, oh, this is a jet ski Spider-Man. I'm like, he doesn't look like Spider-Man. He's not dressed like Spider-Man. He's got a weird helmet on. He's got goggles. That's not what Spider-Man looks like. I'm not buying this friggin' junk.
I had that problem a little bit with Ninja Turtles. I got into Ninja Turtles originally, and I got all the guys in the regular form, and I got some of the wacky action ones, but they still looked like Ninja Turtles. I got some of the storage shells. They still look like Ninja Turtles. And then I got a few of the Sewer Surfer, the Sewer Samurai, whatever. And eventually I was like, I don't need them in other outfits. I don't need 6 outfits. I'm done. Right. And I collected some of the peripheral characters, but I was done buying turtle heads.
Yeah. They felt like imposters. Even with He-Man, like the Thunder Punch He-Man, I think I probably had them. I barely played with them.
I had Battle Armor He-Man as my first He-Man, but I did have the original Skeletor somehow. I don't think it was new on card. I might have gotten a card, but maybe it was new on card. But I had Battle Armor He-Man and just wanted him to look like the cartoon one so bad.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was neat that the thing flipped, and it didn't interfere with any other play features with him. But I was so happy when I got a regular He-Man at a yard sale one day. I was like, yes, now he looks like the cartoon. You know?
Yeah, the Battle Armor one is a perfect example of like, he has this gimmick. He's going to have to get slashed in the chest twice at least.
All the time. Yeah.
I love the Battle Armor He-Man. It was the only one that my cousin had. He had I forget if it was regular Skeletor, but I know it was Battle Armor He-Man. And I'm like, that's so cool. He's got armor instead of just being totally naked. This is the best thing ever. And then, but it is that thing like, okay, well, now I'm going to slash him in the chest. Now he's going to get hit in the arm and then in the chest again.
Got to go for the chest every time.
Yeah,
chest hits.
Cool. Yeah. It is funny. I have all the little books, the mini books.
Yeah, the comics.
And my kid would be like, the cover, he's not wearing his battle armor. I'm like, does he have battle armor in the book? He's like, yeah. He's not wearing the battle armor on the cover of the book. And I'm like, okay. And he wants it to it has to match. Like, why doesn't the cover
for him.
look like the inside? I'm like, I don't know, man.
I am shocked.
I did explain it to him, like, well, it looks like, okay, so somebody different painted the cover, and then the person inside, the inside work somebody else. And he's like, okay. I guess they weren't communicating very well. He's like, oh, yeah, I guess so.
Somebody missed the memo.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
I'm shocked they never worked the other armors into the cartoon. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the cartoon ran through every iteration, but Battle Armor He-Man definitely existed while the cartoon was on.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, because when they did the Mike Young version, the 2000 X He-Man, they did do a whole season where he wore the snake armor. Yeah. And a couple episodes, like one-off episodes, he would wear ice armor or whatever. It makes total sense. Why wouldn't you show him in the versions kids are getting?
Yeah.
But also animation thrives on just reusing.
Yeah.
Or just drawing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
well, especially He-Man. Like, he's got to run
the same cycle.
I was watching it recently.
Over and over and over.
Teela. What was Teela doing? Basically, it was the animation of her running diagonally across the screen. But it was something like, let's go get something to eat. Whatever, after a battle.
Ran
and
to
I
get
was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so amazing. Just cheap.
Budgeted, right? That's one of the other things that, like, I appreciated about He-Man when I was a kid, that it's still to this day, they're, like, cherished trophies for me, is that it's one of the toy lines that is so much more... The toys are better than the cartoon, and they just do the like the mythos and the stories and everything more justice. I love the cartoon, but it's very, very simple, and it's all that rotoscope stuff that just again and again.
I love these mini books and the comics. Especially, I have some of the first comics. Skeletor's wearing a loincloth, basically. You could see his ass and a bunch of some of the behind shots. I'm like, it's gritty, and it looks more like Conan than it does anything else.
Yeah, awesome. It's akin to those like the fantasy barbarian novels.
He's much more down and dirty,
and that's what Mattel kind of wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And Filmation, because they have sort of a formula for these shows of we need the sidekick, and we need they created Cringer and Prince Adam and all the silly stuff that doesn't quite actually fit the Conan sort of style. But it was just so popular that eventually the mini comics changed to match that.
Right. But this stuff, even the original box art of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's some
art.
of the best.
It is art, and the figures more matched this kind of artwork.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it really did feel like the cartoon was a step down. Not that I didn't like it; I loved it, but I felt like a sense of prestige when I was playing with these toys. Mm-hmm. That. I don't know. It just these are like valuable trophies. Is the only word I can think of, and I felt that honor of playing with them as a kid back in the '80s as well.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's awesome. I love
the cartoon is so flat compared to how gorgeously painted the covers are and everything else is.
Yeah, the cartoon almost doesn't do justice to this
this is when I play with them. That's what my imagination. I'm like, this is what it looks like. They're in a grimy swamp.
Yeah.
They're not in a rotoscoped candy cane nightmare.
Yeah, and again, Filmation style stuff is going to exist in my head till the day I die.
Uh-huh.
I cherish it, but it is one of the the leading examples of where the things I had my hands on and was playing with at home far exceeded what they were marketing with, like on TV.
Yeah.
One of the things I brought out here, just because I thought it was a really interesting sort of like tiny little side story, is that everybody knows Imperial toys, right? Mm-hmm. Like everyone had those rubber dime store toys with the lead paint. This one actually has lead paint, so don't chew on it. But it was so many companies were putting out toy lines that were meant to cater to the same kids that loved He-Man toys, that Imperial Toys actually made like lines of just accessories, weapons, and like beasts that were meant to integrate into Masters of the Universe, as well as like the Warlords line or fantasy world figures.
Yeah,
there are no official figures that go with these beasts.
Right.
It is just something they meant to tack on and try to get money from the kids who are
too. Like
it is,
and I've only seen a couple of them like in person. I see them online when I do searches and stuff. And the design is cool. It's interesting enough that you could really be like, oh, no, that does look like it fits.
This totally goes.
And if you watch 65 episodes of He-Man or more, like there are so many crazy weird dragons and demons and monsters, like that fits so perfectly. And you want stuff for He-Man to fight. Like, and the line maybe didn't offer enough.
And you could probably buy monsters. 2 of these at least for the price of a He-Man toy.
Is there a modern day equivalent of that? I'm just trying to think like
where
a company
toys are making something to go with other things.
Something that's not theirs. It's not their
so, IP. IP is so everything's IP heavy.
It's so
like,
exclusive.
It's so, like,
this is mine.
Oh, this is a He-Man. Oh, now it's a wrestling WWE He-Man. It's
right.
Double IP.
I mean, other than like a real niche collector thing where this is adjacent to that.
Yeah.
Not really. Like you don't go into the store and find like Marvel-esque things to use with your Marvel toys or whatever. It doesn't really happen.
It was such an interesting time, just like in the toy industry.
I feel like it probably has to do with like all these smaller companies become big conglomerates.
Yeah.
And then it's Mattel owns 5,000 small companies now, and then if you want to compete with Mattel, you have to. They're stepbrothers with Target. Yeah. You have to buy out their shelf space.
Well, without places like Toys R Us, you can't. Nobody has enough shelf space to let the little guys in anymore.
It's a monopoly to like the extreme extent. These littler companies don't have a shot,
stand a chance.
But I mean, it's sad. But
it was amazing that Olmec let Mattel, whether they own it outright, it seems like they do. Like the Lords of Power, the Sunman characters. That was pretty neat that they reissued a lot of those. But I have a feeling Olmec wasn't producing anything anymore. Okay, for a song, they sold them the rights to a thing that doesn't really exist. You know?
No, but it's just the more I look back and the more I collect stuff from that era, it's amazing how many lines were trying to be like that. These were ones that you had held up earlier. I had no idea these existed. This is like a tertiary. Like there was He-Man, then there was, the Remco stuff, and then Soma is this other company that put out these that are clearly really creative and colorful, but also a step down in sculpting and this and that.
These are ones I would see all the time. I never had them, but Zern's Farmer's Market, all that kind of stuff, they would have them. Or there was Finero Brothers, the hardware store near me in Collegeville, that you would go in and it was a regular hardware store, but right in the middle was steps, and you go down and there was like, I don't know what 3/4 of the store was, junk, whatever, dog food nonsense. This last aisle was all toys, and it looked like this. It was just walls packed, like they had bought out whatever toys, and it was this stuff. They had Conan toys. They had like Dick Tracy, any like stuff that didn't sell well. Basically, all the Pegwarmers. All of them. It was a store full of Pegwarmers, and I would see these. I'm like, these are so cool, but
if we could go back in time and just...
It's funny because it was always... Most of the human heads are so terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I love this guy. I love some of the creatures and stuff.
Yeah, that's hideous.
Oh, it's awful.
The most hideous one is the human face. It looks
like Sylvester Stallone's mother.
It does. It looks like they looked at Taclico Rambo and like...
let's
try and do that.
Yeah. And even the Coleco Rambo figures, and like I just brought this out here too, just because of how widely used like
that
toy lines were. Yeah. Like this is Clubber Lang. I don't know who put this out, but this is clearly like a He-Man torso.
Well, I would love you'd see those. It was like kind of the Power Rangers one I was talking about, but it would be wrestlers, it would be monsters, it'd be barbarians, it could be anything. I think I have to double check, but the Power Ranger one, I think he's wearing a fuzzy loincloth that's just painted red. Like so many of them. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled his shorts off and he was wearing a fuzzy loincloth because it's just the standard.
I mean, we can check
copy.
Reveal. No, it's not fuzzy, but yes.
He's Kendall.
Kendall.
Yeah.
No, but it's funny you should say that. One of the ones I am hunting for as an adult because I had it as a kid was a squat. I think he was marketed as Andre the Giant, but it was a He-Man style figure. It was I forget the name of the company, Sun something, that put out. The line was just called like Wrestling Championship.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And they had an Andre the Giant. The only thing that looked remotely like Andre the Giant was the head, but the body was just a standard, like, He-Man body. I'm still tracking. I have to track one of those down. Yeah, I will forever be in love with this style of figure.
Have you ever collected any of the Zolo World figures? I know you said you went to ZoloCon because he did Realm of the Underworld.
I love those. I love those, and I have a couple other ones back there. I forget what this line is called. The one I am now like pouring my heart and soul into is the one I have a couple here of.
Yeah, okay.
I really like those. The Zolo ones, they never like. I love the idea, but I think when I first saw it, it was like probably when he like literally the first year he was doing it, and the quality just wasn't there yet. So it just never caught with me.
I liked that Zolo had like skeleton warrior bodies.
Yeah, which is cool.
I like that. You know, because you can have all of these heroes already, like, humanoid characters. There's a ton of them, right?
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of his guys, and they're all kind of Greek mythology type characters. Mm-hmm. But the skeletons from that first wave, and even the necromancer guy, that's kind of like Skeletor, but like he's interesting. He's got like a helmet and stuff. So I liked the bad guys from that line.
Yeah.
Eventually, I got tired of waiting for repaint. Like they were just doing repaint waves. Like the guys that came with slime and stuff. But they kept selling this like Nightmare Horse was going to come out, and it did come out, and I never got it because I just sort of lost interest in waiting for it. But it was like, that's really neat. It was like a static horse, like the He-Man stuff, but it was black and had flames on it, and I just kept waiting for that to get released. And toy making is like a whole crazy industry.
I know, it is.
And a small line, like all this stuff is very collector.
This artisan stuff is difficult.
I love the tenacity to have that, like to do that, to plot out the idea, the world, the characters, the designs, and then get it made into a physical object is so impossible.
I mean, Mike had Neil Adams do some art for that line. Like,
I remember that.
It's amazing that he did that.
These so it's called Legends of Dragonor.
Right. Okay.
And the basic idea of like, a barbarian and good guys and bad guys, and some of them are sort of like, monsters. There's a few female characters. The big difference between this and anything else that I was seeing out there, especially again with what's going on with Origins line and like the plastic qualities and stuff, is these feel more expensive. I mean, they're not really from like the artisan like toy collecting standpoint, but if you feel them, like the quality is,
it actually feels like it's solid,
super solid. It's 5 points of articulation. There's no knee bend, there's no ankle bend. That's not something that I miss because I'm used to not having it as a kid.
As long as his arm chops
and
like
this style toy looks good.
Yeah,
whether you stand them all in a row or do a fake little battle, they always look good because they're always kind of action ready. Because we were talking before we filmed about reaction figures. And while it was okay for Star Wars, Star Wars eventually got away from that and started like putting a little bend in the arm and things like that. The reaction guys, great aesthetic if you like that aesthetic, but man, you can't do anything with them but
that's it.
Or arms at the side. Yeah. And so it gets dull.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
This just has a little bit of action built into it.
Yeah, I don't need a joint.
I really like
I don't need a joint, but that kind of action potential is it looks great on a shelf, and these figures are done beautifully. And these dragons just got released, and they are a little modular. So they are kind of like the Panther and the Battle Cat.
The paint is gorgeous. I love the colors.
The paint's gorgeous, and they come with arms that you can swap out, and the head pops off this way, and it's like a standing dragon,
like an oversized character.
Yeah. So this is like my new thing.
They're definitely cool.
They're cool, and actually, in a weird way, I get a hit of nostalgia from these, as much as I do like some of the vintage stuff because of the quality.
Yeah.
And it's so reminiscent of what I felt when I was getting brand new
He-Man. The excitement of getting a new character.
What's the price on these compared to like
30 or like 35 per figure?
Not too bad.
No, I mean that's
for the quality, because this is solid. The paint is gorgeous. It does look way better than the current He-Man lines.
Yeah, and that's something I did want to have to like in a therapy standpoint, I wanted to confess this. Is that like the Origins line is something that I buy so that I don't handle my vintage stuff as much.
Yeah.
Because eventually I want to try to like shelf the vintage next to the Origins one.
Okay.
Like everywhere. And I love that they're making them, and I just want to get the original ones, even though I've already gone overboard with the Snake Men because they can't stop putting out Snake Men figures. But I the spirit of the original He-Man line is there, but there's sort of just like a quality and a prestige and like a care in the making of them that's not there the way it was in the original. And again, that might just be like the nature of the toy manufacturing these days with manufacturing costs and distribution and blah blah blah. But putting all that aside, just based on what I feel, it's doing it, but not. It's not the same thing.
It's hard also to like reimagine a toy, but keep it as close to the original as possible, and still make it feel like there's any essence to it. It's just really a copy of the original with lesser quality paint and plastic, with some more articulation.
Right.
Like, but the bend in the elbow doesn't make up for the fact that the color of He-Man's skin doesn't look as good as the original.
I know. Right. I was going to say
where's his tan?
The tan, the colors are off a little bit.
Shira's yellow plastic doesn't look as good as like gold paint did on old figures.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, again, I'm not doing action poses, but they don't stand as well. I mean, there's just the quality in general is just not what I had hoped. That being said, I'm still freaking buying every single one of them. I can't stop myself.
Because that's actually why I'm not buying them. Because I keep looking at them, and the little guy, every time we go to Target, I'm like, nope, nope, we're not getting into it.
Yeah,
we're not getting, because he'll drive me. He won't care. But if he's using a Skeletor and a classic He-Man, I'll be like, I gotta go.
That hurts.
I gotta go in the other room. I can't watch this.
Yeah,
I do think because we kind of mentioned it, I'm looking at your classics. Cats in the background, and then this one here. Yeah. And this one is so action-packed compared to those. And I bet you if you started playing with them, trying to get them in a good pose, and you put He-Man on top, they'd fall over all the time.
Yep.
This was not frustrating, and that is a huge thing with kids.
That's huge.
If it's hard to put the guy in the vehicle, or the thing falls over, it sucks. Yeah. The kid's disappointed. And like we were saying, this thing just sits, but it looks dynamic at the same time. And that really does work well.
Yeah. No, that's you said it perfectly. That again, that stability was like a big deal to me as a kid, and it is now. I don't know what the perfect number of joints and articulated joints is in a toy, but it's not this. Like I don't need all these joints.
I would happily trade same quality, same paint color, same everything else if they just took out. Like I don't need the wrists to spin. I don't need the joints. Like.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I look at him like, that's just not what He-Man looks like to me. Does he need knee joints? No. Like,
I enjoy the elbow joint and the wrist sometimes, but yeah, I really probably don't need the knee. I always felt that way kind of with G.I. Joe, though, too. Like, I think the 3 3/4 inch O-ring Joe is, like, the perfect amount of articulation.
Yeah.
Then when they did, like, 25th anniversary, you could get the guy in a little bit more realistic pose because his hand twisted. Yeah. But also his torso always looked a little funny, like he'd accidentally hunch over. I'm like, it's too lanky and too many joints for this size toy.
At a point, they all have scoliosis because things start moving and bending. And no, I agree. There's something to be said for simplicity. Mm-hmm. And then when something becomes too complex, it becomes less engaging in a weird way.
Yeah, if you're a toy photographer, you want all that articulation.
Yeah.
But for 90% of us, we want to just pose it once or twice and then put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
And at that point, do you need the sixth set of hands and the 35th joint? It's like, his toes move. great. In fact, the toes are going to be the reason he falls off my shelf, because it's going to like bend there, and he takes a nose dive.
I can't tell you. Maybe once a week, twice a week, I walk down the steps and just come over here, and half of the Argent figures have fallen over. Nobody's touched them. They just they fall because of joints. Yeah. And I got like 2 or 3 drawers full of like extra hands.
Right.
It's like the fine line between like McFarlane statues where they're like they don't move at all, or their arm going for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
Or over articulation, like it's a gorgeous sculpture, or it's like a little bit like, I think a lot of the toys in the 90s had like the perfect amount. Like they started to get a little crazy, like towards 2000. I remember Spider-Man. I have Spider-Man figures. He used to just that was it, straight arms.
Yeah.
And then towards the 2000, it was like he had everything. You could bend him. It was like, okay, I could pose him into like the weirdest pose ever. But is this good for playability? Like he can't stand up on his own. He can't do anything. He doesn't hold the pose. Like,
I don't know.
At
the end of the day, these are meant to be played with, and there is a sweet spot as far as playability versus that like posability.
Right.
And you're right. If you're not a toy photographer, a lot of it's just frustrating.
Yeah, and these guys do look. They're ready for battle. You can just stand them right on a shelf. Like, I'd rather have that Battle Cat than the new one, because it just looks like he's on his lunch break. I don't know.
He's not ready to
the
attack.
sculpture's great.
No.
Yeah. The extra detail, it's like everything they did is right.
Yeah.
But it somehow loses something. It's somehow less than the original.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I don't recall. I've never had a point as a kid where I was playing with this stuff where I thought to myself, there's something I can't make them do. Yeah. Like even with 5 points of articulation, every play scenario was easy.
Perfect.
Easy to.
I think Blackstar might be the only other thing that you pulled out that we didn't talk about.
Yeah. Confession. Never saw the Blackstar cartoon as a kid. As I became an adult collector, I just thought, just for the sake of historically knowing the evolution of where this came from that defined my childhood, I had to get these. Same idea as far as like the muscular build, not quite as dynamic. Still a 5 point of articulation with the legs that are attached sort of the same way. Actually, no,
it's like a bungee.
Yeah,
thing,
it's like a fabric cord.
Yeah.
Similar idea, but different execution.
Yeah, and the ice castle, like their play sets and everything is a wonderful thing to have.
That
on
dragon
a shelf.
is so cool with the wings.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah. So it's really just like figures I picked up because I needed like
representation.
Of that line, that evolution of this toy line that is so dear to me. So I have a couple of them. I don't have any interest in completing the line, but it is something nice that they sit on shelves next to like the vintage He-Man stuff for the sake of the story.
My experience with Blackstar as a kid, because I didn't know anybody that had any of the figures, but every kid I knew in the 80s had one of those little gremlins that were packed in with some of the characters.
Yeah.
Everyone had one, and I would always be like, what are these from? And kids would go, Blackstar. And I'm like, what is Blackstar?
Right, yeah.
So I just knew the Blackstar gremlins as a kid.
There's a lot of toys we all recognize from sight because they just ended up in a toy box or at a friend's house, but we don't know what it was.
Yeah, what did this come from?
Yeah. This guy has the...
the sparking action.
Yeah.
Still works.
Which actually is still a pretty cool feature. I mean,
yes.
They don't do that in toys anymore, right?
No.
Unfortunately.
Not after rollerblading Barbies lit somebody's carpet on fire.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much to review and analyze and talk about and reminisce when it comes to this style of figure.
I also have to think that this style figure was a big impact on Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
They had different articulation, but they still had the squatty pose and super muscular looking figures, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Turtles definitely evolved in style as the cartoon became more popular. They moved that way a little bit, but all the detail, all the sinewy muscles on those original figures,
veins, they have veins and stuff.
They definitely took something from this and tried to make it their own.
And despite those joints seizing up as they get older, that's another durable toy. And that was a big deal as a kid. Ninja Turtles were becoming big right when I still loved toys, but had to sort of pretend I didn't want to play with them. But I still did. Yeah. Secretly I did. And Ninja Turtles definitely fit the mold of what I wanted to... I was never like rough and wanted to. I never broke a toy in my life intentionally.
Yeah.
But anything I did do with them, Ninja Turtles, just like my He-Man figures, they held up beautifully.
You could throw a Ninja Turtle. They were pretty nice.
And they made it. They managed.
Their legs would pop off, and it just had the ball joint. You could pop them right back on.
Yep.
As long as you didn't break the ball joint.
Right.
Yeah.
They're pretty nice.
Every once in a while, there's like a white, like Y inside of them.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, that would snap.
Yeah.
Like that was probably the weakest point was that hip joint. But yeah, they were pretty solid figures.
That's the thing that right now I think for whatever reason I don't know what that Y joint is made of.
That is getting brittle and
It's brittle and it's shrinking. So the legs are pulled tighter, and I have the 4 original ones right behind you. Those legs barely move, and I feel like if I pull just a little too hard or push,
just gotta leave them right where they are.
Yep. Yeah, they're not moving. But again, they have that dynamic pose, so why move them?
They had the rubber heads in the beginning too, like the He-Man guys. You know?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think like Toy Evolution. It's like everything leading up to He-Man, and then He-Man was this huge cultural moment.
Yeah.
It was like everything before He-Man and after He-Man, because everything before it was like this stuff is good. It's similar idea, but the execution isn't there.
Right.
And then He-Man just got it right, like the perfect articulation.
Yeah.
Like the characters, the story, everything, and then everything after that was like, okay, ours are gonna be muscular, but ours are bigger. Or like even Star Wars eventually was like, oh yeah, it's Star Wars, but Luke's he's this tall, but he looks like He-Man with his shirts ripping out, and Ninja Turtles and everything after that became like, dynamic pose.
We gotta compete. This thing is hot, so we gotta compete with it. So the X-Men toys had gimmicks, the Power Rangers had muscle. Like we're just gonna keep going. Like everyone was trying to like stay popular or figure out what the secret sauce was.
Yeah.
I mean, even He-Man went for all those years was the most valuable toy company or toy line, and then they ran into a snag. The toy stores were asking for more He-Man and Skeletor, and they didn't get it. Mattel was like, "Oh, okay, you want more Masters of the Universe characters?" So they made the Quick Wave, which are now the valuable figures. But Scareglow and Randor and all these guys that were like just a head swap or whatever, like minimal tooling, but they became Pegwarmers because the kids weren't looking for more extra characters. They were looking for He-Man. Like I said as a kid, I want He-Man that looks like the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the movie came out, and it was just too late.
Yeah.
They had messed up the logistics that already killed the line. There was so much other competition at that point. Transformers and G.I. Joe, we're doing this same marketing campaign, cartoons and comics and everything else, and He-Man just lost its grip on
the market
the
was
toy market.
flooded by that point.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's it. I speak a lot about this, like when I do stuff on YouTube and this and that, is that I do feel like our generation is we mourn the loss of our childhood more than any generation before and after, because we were so inundated with that perfect storm of cartoons. Which were basically 30-minute commercials for the toys, the movies, everything. We had so many choices that so much represents that perfect time in our childhood. That's why I'm still surrounded by this stuff. Like I can't shake it.
We were more impacted by these characters than any other generation.
Yeah.
Like the people right before us that were like the Star Wars kids growing up and Star Trek kids. They saw it like in the movie theater a couple times, or like once a week on TV. We saw it every single day in syndication for years.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime and General Hawk and He-Man, they were your friends. You watched them, then you read the comic, then you played with the toy.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why so many of us just never really let go of it. Even if we walked away from it for a while.
Oh yeah,
we all, like so many of us, came back to it.
We hung out with these characters daily, like you said. Yeah, that's it's almost in a strange way like a family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at all the kids that cried when Optimus Prime died. Like, they killed the dad. They killed everybody's moral compass. Like,
Yeah.
Still might be the worst decision. In the history of pop culture.
Awful.
Dude, we can't sell new toys if the old ones are still alive. Like, if they're not in stores, no one's going to buy them.
Yeah.
You could just sell new toys. Like, I think it's going to work.
Yeah.
No, they must see that they're dead. They must want to throw out the old ones so they'll buy new ones. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Quick, change the G.I. Joe movie. Don't kill dude. Quick.
Yeah. walk that decision back.
Can we get BJ Ward to just say he's in a coma? We'll make it work.
That solves it right there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. In the comments below, let us know if you collected any of the other ancillary 5.5 toys. Are you getting any of the modern collector stuff? Thanks so much for having us to your house. This is great.
My pleasure.
This is amazing.
My pleasure.
How much to stay here? Can I rent this room? Can I Airbnb?
Just come on over.
Nostalgia B&B.
Everybody, come on over. Just enjoy.
Plenty of we'll put another chair here. Yeah. We'll kick He-Man off the couch. Yeah. Just come on over, guys.
We got room.
Or you can cuddle He-Man, whatever. Yeah. You know.
He is pretty soft and comfy.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging on the peg with us.